It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Download our Red Eye Radio app today. Listen when and where you want if you can't listen live overnight. Wow, looking at the latest from Beer Business Daily. I will be honest with you. I've not been a well, let me tell the absolute truth. Until this weekend, I never heard of Beer Business Daily.
Yeah.
But they are a trade publication, found that the volume of Bud Light sales had dropped by 28.4% in the second week of May, up from 27.7% the week prior. That means Bud Light has fallen for the sixth consecutive week. And they're calling it, here, Bud Light faces a Hurricane Mulvaney moment. You say, hurricane, where does that come in? They said this could be a promotional summer, the likes we haven't seen since after Hurricane Katrina in 2005, where there was so much beer inventory backed up in the trade that it initiated the price war of all price wars, the industry outlet told Fox Business News. Large price wars are often sparked by external events. In that case, Hurricane Katrina. In this case, Hurricane Mulvaney. The only difference this time is that the external event is only negatively affecting one brewer, but it's not an external event.
No.
Beer Business Daily added. I'd try and throw some propaganda in there.
I mean, if they're saying that the employee wasn't an employee of Anheuser-Busch, that they worked for the ad agency, that's still internal.
Yes. The consumer cutback on Bud Light has become so bad that one store is even reportedly offering cases of 24, packs of 24, cases of 24, which normally retail close to $20 for just $3.49 to offset some of the cost of inventory before the beverage expires. How long does beer last in a can?
Well, back in my day, usually around 8 minutes per can.
Because I've had
roughly.
I have some cans of beer, I don't even know what they are, in my refrigerator that have been in there for a couple of years.
I didn't know until it was several years ago, but it was most of my life I didn't even know that things like that, anything canned like that, had an expiration date. My mom told me, she said, when you're buying sodas, make sure you look for the expiration date. What? What expiration date? And then, of course, was it Bud Light? What brand had the best by date or something, or the brew date or whatever it was? They were focused on the date on the can. I don't remember that campaign, who it was, but yeah.
Yeah, because when I see, all right, it's been 6 straight. Well, now we're to 8, because this was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Is where they actually look at the price dropping again. Think, wow, that's been going on that long.
During COVID,
wow.
At the very beginning of COVID, that first summer, a lot of retailers, the restaurant and bar industry, they had a lot of backstock because the local rules had shut them down, especially restaurants. So then it became, all right, what are we going to do with this backstock here? A lot of that was in bulk, though, I believe. I don't know if the majority was, but that was short-lived. I don't know how long this effect goes.
Well, you saw Target, lost $10 billion in market value over the weekend.
Yeah.
You've got Kohl's now that is facing a possible boycott because of their marketing of clothing to children.
Mm-hmm.
Reading here, shoppers are criticizing Kohl's after the department store became the latest retailer to sell LGBTQ clothing for infants and young kids. The one thing, and we had said this to a number of the sports teams out there that had Pride Night, and you've got Pride Month coming up here,
mm-hmm.
where the problem is we basically live in a live and let live society.
Yeah.
Except when it comes to children. And for some reason, the left doesn't understand that you can do what you want as an adult. Don't bring in the children. It's that simple.
Right.
I don't know anybody who wants to teach any sexualized. I don't want to teach any sexualized content to a 5-year-old.
No, I don't.
It's not even part of shouldn't even be part of their world. And if you do, as far as I'm concerned, you're a pervert. There's no other reason to be doing that.
And then, I think the other problem, too, is that there's so many problems in bringing in the parents to a what they consider to be a civil rights movement, what the left considers to be a civil rights movement.
Mm-hmm.
So now you have the shoppers who, if your parents and your kids are with you, now you've got to explain what's going on. And with a child, it's always, well, why? Well, why? Well, why? Which forces you to walk through the entire equation.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you do that?
And
why would you alienate, I don't know if it's half or let's just say a significant portion of your customer base? And it's going to do that.
And it's also splitting the gay community because there are plenty that don't want to be associated with the liberal radical transgender activist movement.
No, it's a great point. They don't want to be drawn into the back and forth. I mean, it's almost like bringing a really elevated social media back and forth to the floor of your retail establishment.
Yeah.
And then you're basically forcing your customers to give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. You're forcing them to then take a stand or move away from it. Why would you do that? Even before you get to talking about what we believe is the most important part of it, marketing this to children, why would you even want to force your customer to become engaged?
You don't.
You don't.
I was reading Fox News editorial. I think it was some guy. I don't know. He said he's part owner of a couple of teams. I didn't get what teams they were, but he just said his suggestion to all teams: drop Pride Week, and you don't bring up any conservative movement things either.
Right.
For example, it probably wouldn't be smart for a business to say, we are completely and totally pro-gun and pro-Second Amendment, and we want AR-15s in the hands of all Americans.
Right.
They may think that way. Probably not a good thing for a sports team to do.
Right. If the names Smith and Wesson appear anywhere in your company, then you can go that route. But what you're doing is you're asking people to approve or disapprove on the spot.
Right. It's like your sports.
Right.
You're a retail outlet. You're trying to bring in 100% of the you want to maximize the number of people that will purchase your goods because that's why you're in existence. That is your number one goal. And the problem with the Pride movement is and believe me, there are many in the gay community that understand that the problem is, because we heard from them long time ago about the liberal radical transgender activist movement. We don't have anything to do with it.
Right.
Because now it includes whether you like it or not. You can't sit there and say, oh, you're just you're just homophobic well, you don't hear homophobic anymore. All you hear is transphobic,
right?
Which means you're homophobic because the T is part of the rest, and therefore it's all inclusive.
Right.
But the fact is, what you're saying is that men should compete, biological men should compete with women. You're defying science at one point, and then you bring the children in to groom children on the other end. You can't win that. And that's the problem. That's why you have the NHL came out and said, well, we're going to reevaluate, the pride nights that we have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's not about anymore. Gay marriage is done. Whether you like it or not, that's done and over.
Right.
So what is there?
Yep.
The average gay couple makes more money. So you can't say, well, we need fair wages for people that are gay. They make more, way more than you found out when you look at the statistics. So you don't have that. So what do? You got to add something new. It's a transgender activist movement. What do you get there? You get the marginalization of the biological female and the grooming of children.
Well, and if you're marginalizing women, you're marginalizing, too, feminists, which we've seen that.
Right. And that's the
which
problem
has been
that they
a
have.
huge part of their movement up until now.
And they try to ignore that by just saying you're something phobic,
right.
Which is, we said, fine, your response would be, and I'm happy that it's like, okay, you've seen, I can't think of her name now, the swimmer.
Gaines?
Yeah, Riley Gaines. Riley Gaines coming out and just, and using the word, well, you're misogynist. You're sexist. As we've said, that's what you should, that should be the response.
Right.
You're a transphobe. Fine. You practice misogyny and you're a sexist. And you're a groomer of young children. What type of perverted life do you live? Because that's what it's become now. And whether they like it or not, the pride movement that never saw this coming, we told you it was coming.
No, it's here to stay.
Yep.
You're not about to turn the volume on this down. How dare you?
No.
So Kohl's just jumps in.
It's just, there has to be panic. And there's panic in a lot of boardrooms over the last few weeks.
In an era where department stores, brick and mortar, are having such a hard time financially, why in the world would you want to go out and alienate a huge chunk of your customer base? You should be looking to attract more people in to your stores and to your brand. Amazon and Walmart are killing it. Now, on clothing, I can't tell you who the leader is right now. But on e-commerce and on the other department, the homewares that Kohl's outside of clothing offers, Walmart, discount retailers have it completely rounded up and cinched. And you're having to compete. And this is what you do?
And the other thing about, when you look at Mulvaney, when you look at the drag shows, everything else, and now even the left is starting to pick up on, gender appropriation.
Yeah.
Sexual appropriation. You're making fun of women. You're not even a woman. And you're trying in a parody way. Sorry, you can't do that. There's cultural appropriation. There's race appropriation. Now there's sexual appropriation. Here comes the liberal circular firing squad.
Yeah.
But it's just and the left is furious at the backlash to all of this. I've been amazed at how long it took to get here and was amazed that the Dylan Mulvaney thing was the thing that really sparked, finally, the backlash against the insanity of the liberal, radical, transgender activist movement.
Yeah. It's they think they're winning, and they think clearly that they haven't gone far enough. That the problem is they're not doing this more, and they should turn it up. Good luck.
866-90-RED-EYE.
This year's Atlantic hurricane season outlook is believed to be a near normal one, according to government forecasters. But USDA meteorologist Brad Rippey, will that forecast include a rare January Atlantic tropical system?
Some folks don't know this, but we actually had one tropical cyclone already in 2023. It did not receive a name, and that was because the storm was not cataloged in real time as a named system. But after a post-analysis, just a few weeks ago, the National Hurricane Center announced that there was a tropical cyclone that was in the Atlantic Basin, not too far from the U.S. coast. It was actually just over the Gulf Stream off the U.S. East Coast back in mid-January.
He says the storm was short-lived before dissipating.
But we are already at one storm that will officially count as a tropical cyclone for 2023, even though it did not receive a name.
Meaning the next Atlantic named storm will start with an A, Arlene. I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report is made possible by Cenex Roadmaster XL Premium Diesel and Citgo Lubricants.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
Red Eye Radio. He's Eric, I'm Gary. Comedian legend John Cleese says he refuses to remove the famous Loretta transgender scene from Monty Python's Life of Brian for the stage adaptation of the classic film. On social media last Thursday, Cleese said that a journalist recently spread rumors that he would be removing the famous scene from all future adaptations of the film. Quote, a few days ago, I spoke to an audience outside London. I told them I was adapting the Life of Brian so we could do it as a stage show, not a musical. I said that we'd had a table reading of the latest draft in New York City a year ago, and that all the actors, several of them Tony winners, had advised me strongly to cut the Loretta scene. I have, of course, no intention of doing so. That's a quote. Another quote here. So someone in the audience had called a journalist and misreported me. Amazingly, none of the British media called to check. They just wrote the story. Cleese also clarified that he would not be cutting the song, Always Look on the Bright Side of Life, from the stage adaptation. The British comedian had been referring to a recent article in the Daily Mail that quoted him being somewhat aghast at the fact that American actors wanted him to censor the Loretta scene in the Life of Brian. At the end, I said to the American actors, what do you think? And they said, we love the script, but you can't do that stuff about Loretta nowadays, he reportedly said. He added, so here you have something that's never been a complaint of, there's never been a complaint about it in 40 years that I've heard of, and all of a sudden we can't do it because it'll offend people. What is one supposed to make of that? So Life of Brian took a whole new meaning to a new generation in recent years when the famous Loretta scene went viral due to how well it portrayed the irrationality of the political transgenderism, a joke that would definitely not be allowed in any mainstream Hollywood film in 2023.
Yeah, right.
Well, what would have Monty Python?
Right. Well, Steven Spielberg went back with E.T. and took the guns out of the movie. Remember that?
Yes.
He said recently he wishes he wouldn't have done that. He shouldn't have done that. He said, that's where we were as a nation at that time. I shouldn't be changing my art because we're changed as a nation or because I've changed.
Call in and get a word in edgewise. Eric Harley and Gary McNamara. on Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome. Good morning. I just hope I've got some audio I want to play here. This is Representative Wesley Hunt of Texas. We've talked about him before. Freshman congressperson and very impressive.
Yeah.
Very impressed by him.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things we've said about the Republican Party is they need to stop defending themselves against racism charges from the Democrats that the Democrats always throw out. You know, you guys are racist, you guys are racist, you guys are racist, you guys are racist. If you're a first-time listener to the show or new to the show, Eric and I, this hit us a long time ago. We said, well, why is the first thing that comes out of Democrats' mouths, no matter what it is, that you're racist? I know that I'm not a racist. I know that obviously that anyone who is viewing any of my opinions based on the substance of it, based on my history, that there's no way that I'm a racist. And so why is that the first thing out of their mouths? Now, why is that? That's the one thing that we could understand until one day finally it hit us and we went, oh. Because we all wonder, we question, well, why would they think that? Because we're not that way. And what we came to realize is they say that about us because that's how they think.
Mm-hmm.
They practice identity politics 24/7. They judge people by groups, and they admit it, and not individuals. And so in their behavior, it's very easy to see the stereotyping that leads to the intolerance and bigotry of racism.
Yep.
Because you're stereotyping. You're saying, no, sorry, you're conservative black, you're not genuine. What kind of a racist statement is that?
Yep.
And it's been going on for the longest time, and they know they practice identity politics. It's not like this is hidden. At times in the past, they have actually said, we've got to stop it. Tim Ryan, who ran against Nancy Pelosi a few years back for Speaker of the House, he said it. He knows what a cancer it is on the party. We've got to stop judging people by groups and as individuals. Well, this is partly what Representative Wesley Hunt said. He was on a podcast called Timcast the other day, and here's what he had to say about himself. He's black, if people don't know it, and his district outside of Houston.
Oh, they've also gotten away with painting the Republican Party as being racist.
Yeah.
And then someone like me comes around, decides to run for Congress. So let's talk about my district back in Houston, Texas. I live in a district that President Trump would have won by 23 points. I ended up winning by 30 points. In the Republican primary, I beat out 9 white guys. In the general election, I beat out a white guy by 30 points. Trump plus 20 district, I outperformed the president. I like to say that every now and again by a little bit. And it's a white majority district. Mm-hmm. In the Republican primary, 75% of the voters were white. And they voted for me overwhelmingly. And why? Because I was the best candidate. Mm-hmm. That's it. That's literally what our party is. I get to wake up every day and live Martin Luther King's dream. I'm literally being judged by the content of my character, not by the color of my skin. So people like me come around and we look around. I'm just like, actually, I'm just here because I just want a better America. I don't even view myself as black or African American. First of all, I'm an American. I'm a combat veteran. I am a father. I am a West Point graduate. I'm an Ivy League graduate. And we can go all the way down the line before I get the black guy.
I'm a cool guy.
I try to be, right? I try to be. I'm a father. I'm all these things. And I like the idea of our party not playing identity politics anymore. And then realizing that you see people like me, you see people like Byron Donalds, you see people like Senator Scott. We are all winning in white majority areas, by the way, people. So you can't call us racist anymore.
There you go. And then he later in the conversation brings up the identity politics of the Democrats, which is where it exists today. And that's the thing that we've talked about for such a long time. The racism of the Democratic Party is right out front. It's blunt. And it's almost, really, when you think about it, it's almost the same type of blue wave of intimidation. Everybody knows it, but you don't say it. It's obvious to everybody, but you don't say it.
Yep.
It's like biological males can be biological females if you say so. For a long time, everybody knew that's a load of horse poop. But You were afraid to go against it. Why? The liberal blue wave tsunami of intimidation would come your way. Black Lives Matter. Anybody could sit there and say, well, wait a minute, you're calling all police departments systemically racist? And that's what's causing these very, very rare incidents of blacks being killed by police officers? Well, that's a jump. Where's your evidence for that? Don't need evidence. Emotion is our evidence. Black Lives Matter came out, supported it. Black Lives Matter, a group you got to support. What do we know now? It was all bogus.
Yep.
All was bogus.
Yeah.
But same thing here. But this has stuck around longer than ever, that the Democrats still claim the other side that says we are going to treat people as individuals. We don't care what you're. And that's to the point where we've got now from the left that if you say, I don't see color, well, that in itself is racist.
Right.
I judge people as an autonomous individual. What do you mean you don't see color? You obviously see the color. Well, yeah. It's like I see blue eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I see bald people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at Wesley Hunt right now. He's got the headphones on. He's bald.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to judge him by his baldness.
Mm-hmm.
Let's judge all bald people the same way.
Oh, if we're judging by haircuts, I'm in.
I mean, it's just we see, what you're saying is it doesn't mean anything to me. And if you say that, that's also racism.
How could it not mean anything?
Right.
You're saying it means nothing?
Yeah. And so what's happened is it's become completely posterior backwards in this country.
Yeah.
Where if you're actually truly anti-racist, you're a racist. And if you're a racist, you're anti-racist.
That's right.
The whole anti-racist promotion is on CRT, where they're judging all white people are culturally racist to the point where it's almost in their DNA and they can never get rid of it. Therefore, society must be structured understanding that all whites are racist.
Right.
And then, as we know, all blacks must think alike. And if you don't, conservative blacks, then you've been demonized for over, I'm trying to think, because it really started with Clarence Thomas, so we're going on 35 years.
Yeah.
30 to 35 years it's gone on there. Because then it was the initial conservative black talk show host back in the early 90s that got hit big time.
And if you don't think like everybody else, then something is wrong with you. If you are black and you happen to be a conservative, someone else is thinking for you. Somebody else is telling you what to say and think.
Right.
You couldn't possibly believe those things if you're a person of color.
And that would be the thing that they would attack Representative Hunt with is, oh, you're just saying that to get elected. You're just agreeing with the white man in order to get elected.
Mm-hmm.
As if all white people think the same, too. I mean, that's, it's just.
Right. But they don't have anything if you stop and take identity out of it. If you took identity away from the left today, tell me what they would have.
Nothing.
Zero.
Well, climate change. But then climate change is racist.
It's racist. We just heard it.
From Jane Fonda.
From Jane Fonda, who knows more about climate change than Jane Fonda.
The patriarchy, racism, and climate change are the deadly triangle.
That's right.
They're all melded together.
It's all one.
It's like, let's combine them all together now.
Yeah.
Well, but it all started, like I said, when we were wondering, why is the first thing they throw at us on any topic? Why is it racist? We go, we don't think that way.
Right.
Why do they think we think that way? And go, oh, because that's how they think.
And by the way,
that's why we're confused.
Mm-hmm.
Because and I think we all tend to think that because we think a certain way, that obviously the same thought pattern must be going through other people. You find out that is not true. You cannot judge people by your particular organization of your thoughts.
Right.
Or if you have critical thinking, assume that somebody else thinks the same way that you do.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as we have found out, human brains are different. And that was the one day we went, wow, that's it. They've been practicing identity politics for so long where it's just a normal part of them. And so they assume you must think the exact same thing, but you're worse because you differ on the issues from them. So everything that you think is based on racism as they practice identity politics, which is judging people by groups and not as individuals.
Yep.
Pretty amazing.
By the way.
Yes.
Jane Fonda suggesting that the president should be in jail. I'm not totally against that. Now, I think you have to prove there's a crime.
All right, now what? For what? Because he's part of the patriarchy?
She says that white men have to be in jail because of climate change.
Oh, okay, that's true. Oh, okay, that's true.
And the same would be, the same case would be for Gavin Newsom, governor of California.
Because she didn't say Republican white men, did she?
She did not.
No, she didn't specify.
She said white men.
Yeah.
Sorry, Joe. Sorry, Gavin. Just the way it goes. Bernie.
The only Democrat man that doesn't belong in jail would be Hunter Biden.
Right. He didn't have anything to do with climate change. Are you kidding me? The entire coal industry didn't put out as much smoke in the atmosphere as he did.
Oh, did you see that Ray said he's going to call Comer this week? Because it's like tomorrow's the deadline, and Comer's like, we're going to put charges against you, obstruction of Congress.
Right.
If you don't give us that document that shows that, shows from what we know from our informants that Joe Biden took a bribe. Mm-hmm. He's calling him tomorrow. They're going to have a phone call.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. None of it, apparently, from what we know, and the FBI did not say it was classified. None of this is classified.
No. Nope.
Will Comer go public? What do the Republicans know that they haven't been willing to tell us yet? That's what I want.
Well, there seems to be a lot because we're not hearing enough talk from them on this.
No.
That tells me they've been told not to talk about certain things.
By whom?
Has to be Merrick Garland. Has to be Director Wray.
Well, I mean, the Republicans aren't going to follow what they say.
Well, my question is, then why would they follow anything? I mean, what directive are they given? What rule would they be breaking if they talked about something? It's not classified, except for the fact that the whistleblower status has to be protected.
Right.
And if that's the case, they actually, Comer may have mentioned something about that briefly. But I guess we'll see when the deadline hits.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I just want to play this audio from Fox News late last week where Tulsi Gabbard, who, was a Democratic representative, loyal Democrat, loyal Democrat for years, speaking about people leaving the Democratic Party, not just for one reason, but multiple reasons.
Yeah, Laura, they're lurching farther and farther towards insanity, really. There's no other word that I can find to describe it. You know, the list of reasons, unfortunately, is long. And I think we will continue to see more and more Americans who maybe call themselves Democrats or used to, but leaving the Democratic Party because of a whole host of reasons. It's an elitist cabal of warmongers. It's made of corrupt politicians, the propaganda media, big tech, and the national security state. They are weaponizing the security state to go after political opponents. They're undermining our God-given rights and freedoms enshrined in the Constitution. They are seeking to censor and silence anyone who does not agree with them.
And she went on and on and on. The reason I bring it, we're just short on time, but I wanted to play that portion of it. And you think about it, we talk about the Jonathan Turleys, the Dershowitz, the Bill Maher's, that are, you can see they're looking and going, this is just not right. You see Tulsi Gabbard saying insanity.
Michael Schellenberger,
Michael Schellenberger, Matt Taibbi, Barry, Barry Weiss, Elon Musk the other day was it the Spotify CEO on Twitter? I guess prompted a question, said basically if aliens came, what would the one thing that might confuse them? And he goes, well, that we can't define what a woman is.
Yeah,
and Musk put that on there. Musk, put that on there. So you even see where it comes from him. Which nobody ever talks about the fact that that group of people have to represent a significant portion of Democrats who are thinking the same thing.
Yep.
How large is that portion, and when will they finally say, we've had enough? Because this isn't small differences with the Republican Party. These people are nuts.
Mm-hmm.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.